Okay, that's it for this week. Matt, thank you very much. Very good to see you.
Thanks for the opportunity. I enjoyed it.
Very good. What am I going to say? Coming up, we talk to the World Federation of Advertisers about media transformation, transparency, and you know what? The A.a. rebate study. Hello and welcome to IDCom's Media Snack, episode 29. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Green, who from the World Federation of Advertisers. And Matt, within the WFA, is the voice of media. All coming up on today's Media Snack in just the time it takes to eat a sandwich. So, Matt Green, you're the voice of media within the World Federation of Advertisers, which, and we speak a lot about the WFA on Media Snack. It's the trade body, right, representing the interests of a very impressive array, a roster of global marketers. What's the scale of your membership, and what kind of brands do you advise, and how does the WFA work with them?
So the WFA works for around 80 corporate clients, so Procter & Gamble, Unilever, L'Oreal, Nestlé, and 70 or so other advertisers, and around 60 national advertiser associations, including the A.a. in the US, ISPA in the UK, UDA in France, OWM in Germany, and a number of other three-letter acronyms all around the world.
Yeah.
So that gives us the sort of global reach that we look for, that we have in our organisation. And within those many corporate organisations, there are, of course, many different marketers, right? Many different disciplines going on there. Mm-hmm. So we look for ways to accommodate all those interests. So we set up different communities of interest, and we have different forums, is the way we refer to them. So my role at WFA is to focus on global media and global digital marketing topics, and the way I do that is through our media forum and our CDO, or digital forum.
Yeah, and these are brilliant initiatives. As you say, you have a number of forums. We've been fortunate enough to be involved in a few of these, for the media forum, and also for the sourcing forum, for the procurement communities within some of these amazing brands that you work with. And they're very privileged and kind of hallowed spaces, I guess, because you have 30 or 40 very senior global representatives from media or procurement, marketing, and you have a CMO forum. How do you get these people together? Because it's very, very difficult to get this kind of caliber of individuals in one room.
Well, the core USP behind WFA, and I suppose most advertiser associations, is that they're client only, and clients like to hear from their peers, and that's what we offer. We offer environments in which clients can come together to hear common solutions to common challenges in a warts and all style. Chatham House rules applies, and that's attractive. Clients want to turn up for that. So we have a CMO forum coming up in Cannes in a couple of weeks. And clients, CMOs, they want to come and hear from the CMO, from Unilever, from P&G, and so on, for obvious reasons.
Because I guess it's quite rare that they have that opportunity then to come and share. And right now, there are so many issues, which, I mean, we're going to talk, obviously, focus today much more on media, but I guess in many other disciplines, but particularly in media, there are so many issues where we know that advertisers want to hear from other advertisers, right? Because there's so many decisions and so many challenges that they're facing, not least what we'll come on to talk about, which is the A.a. study this week, which exposed rebate practice in the US, causes marketers to have a lot of questions, and you guys provide a nice kind of safe forum, I guess, and facilitate a really good quality conversation between these members.
Yeah, people have referred to it as a sort of a therapy session in the past, and I can sort of relate to that. It's about it's a bit cathartic sometimes. It's about bringing this stuff out into the open.
Do you have nice big long couches at the WFA office where they can come and rest their weary heads?
Regrettably, that's not what our offices look like. You've been there before.
Yeah.
Not as nice as these offices here.
Yeah. So let's dig into some of the kind of media issues then that the industry's facing, because Matt and the WFA have a very privileged perspective, not least because of their very close and trusted relationship with some of the world's largest marketers and advertisers, but also because, different to a lot of, to every other trade association really, you take a global perspective. Now, media is increasingly a kind of globalized industry, but it has lots of local nuance. But from your members, within a media forum, what are the big things that you guys have been discussing in the last kind of 6-12 months or so? What's playing on the minds of a global media director at the moment?
Yeah, lots of things. We do see transparency, so we actually ask this question very routinely, at least once a year, to understand where the priorities are, and that helps us shape our agendas as well. And we do see that transparency quite often, sort of percolates up to the top. Also, new trading models, programmatic has been a big one for us in recent years. Return on investment measurement is core and has been for a long time. Yeah. And ad fraud is something which is increasingly sort of rising up the priority rank, and that's why we've responded to that with a recent document which we put out. Yeah,
because you guys, I guess in response to the needs of the forum, you do a lot of surveys and reporting of kind of members' perspective, right? So you gauge the temperature of their interests and their activities. And I guess that allows them to then, somewhat benchmark themselves and learn from others. Exactly. So this week you published the latest kind of ad fraud study?
It was.
So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, so ad fraud is something, as I say, has been sort of rising up the ranks, and we've been doing in our forums. This is a sort of a conversation we've been having. We've been bringing some guests in to talk about it. The guy who co-authored this report is a guy called Mikko Katila, who's a sort of relatively sort of authority on this subject. I know.
Well, he's great. And he wrote the previous white paper on programmatic. He's a good friend of IDCom's as well.
I think one of the main things we say in this document, which perhaps hasn't been said before, is that clients exclusively and entirely lose out from ad fraud. And the rest of the marketing industry doesn't necessarily. And that's not intentional, but that's the way it is, because agencies still get paid and media owners still get paid, but clients lose all their money.
Yeah, because there's no effect at the end of that advertising. So, is that perhaps part of the problem in solving the solution, in the sense that there's a long part of the supply chain there that doesn't necessarily have a great incentive to tackle ad fraud, because it's really a client's problem?
That's one of the messages that we're putting out in this document, that clients need to take a lead role on bringing about resolution here.
So now what happens? You encourage your members to take certain action.
Exactly. So this document is partly about setting the scene and putting out some of the messages which we've just discussed. And then it's partly about putting out some solutions to better manage this area. And so we break these into various different areas, and we've put a sort of a chart in here to help people understand which areas might be most effective in bringing about some solutions, and which can be most easily sort of put in place. And there are a number of things in here. For example, setting appropriate metrics, putting in place the right contractual elements. These are all relatively easy to do and can actually have quite a big effect. So these are some of the ideas we talk about. We also talk about working with the cybersecurity community, and many of these advertisers will already work with existing cybersecurity companies, and it's about having a word with some of these guys, because we don't think all the solutions can necessarily be found within the industry suppliers, within the existing ad techs providers. I'm not saying that these guys don't provide something of value, they do. But there is value in having a broader conversation with people outside of the industry as well, and these are some of the core messages.
Very compelling. Definitely need to take action. We'll link to WFA resources whenever we can publicly distribute. I know you stagger these things out. So have a read of that brilliant report and take some action. Okay, so let's talk about the big one. This week, the Association of National Advertisers, which is are they one of your members? How does that work?
Yeah, they are a member of ours. We're not a member of theirs, of their organisation, but they are a member of the WFA.
And close collaborators, right? And you serve very similar clients, but the A.a. Looks after those brands in the US. As you'll have seen on previous Media Snacks, the A.a. published this report this week, which is the culmination of 8 months worth of investigation into potential alleged media rebate practice in the US. WFA have issued at least one statement that I've seen this week. So what was as the organisation, what was the reading of the report, and what's been your advice and message out to members so far?
Well, naturally, WFA supports this report, supports this message, because we are great believers in increasing transparency. It's crucial, right? So, we endorse the document completely. As I say, transparency has been part of our DNA since our foundation. So there's a clear alignment there. I think that a lot of the messages in the A.a. report are really constructive. There's some really useful stuff in there. Concepts around agency and principle are ideas that we've been talking about in private environments.
Did the report highlight things that your membership have been talking about? So, I mean, how much of that, or if any, was surprising to you, given that you're privy to the way a lot of marketers already talk about media? Do you think this content was surprising and shocking for them, or is it just really perhaps validated things that they were talking about?
I think for global clients, for many global clients, many of the ideas in here are pre-existing. They will know about this because the transparency problem sort of famously exists elsewhere in the world outside of the US. I mean, we now know it exists everywhere. But many of these principles around sort of rebates and media services have been discussed elsewhere. In fact, WFA's produced some work which identifies what some of these areas are and how they can be added to contracts. So for many of our members, this will be not new news as such, but it is new news that it exists to the extent identified in the US, I think.
At the moment, there seems very clear battle lines being drawn, right? Which is probably not helped by the fact that the A.a. and the 4As, which is the body representing the agency interest, are just poles apart. How are we going to get through this? Because it's pretty bleak right now. How do we build back up? And what role, if any, does the WFA have in bringing the agency and the advertiser community back together?
Well, I guess we're all waiting for the follow-up to the A.a.'s report, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of recommendations come out.
And this is the guidelines, which we're expecting in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be some constructive ideas about how to, build back up in that. I guess it's about behaviour change, isn't it? And as you say, I think the A.a. document can be a catalyst for behaviour change. Maybe some behaviour change is required on the client side as well. I mean, I think the K2 document identifies some of the some of the areas in which client behaviour has sort of provoked part of the transparency problem, and maybe there is a role for clients in this as well in terms of them. Yeah,
completely. I mean, because I think that the report it highlighted particular behaviours. So the report talks about aggressive payment terms or things like that, which may and also pressure on reducing fees, which may have caused agencies or given agencies opportunity to seek income from other sources. So it highlights those behaviours. But also I think it highlights lack of behaviour as well, which again Bob referenced on the briefing call that he did with the press, where he said that there's massive gaps in knowledge and capabilities within a lot of client organisations. So they're missing behaviours. They're not applying the right oversight and governance over this whole process.
Yeah, and we see the same thing. That's what our sort of USP, what the opportunity we provide is to create environments where clients can learn from one another and hopefully get up to the same level. Because you were right, there are clear sort of gaps in understanding, and it's not getting any easier, is it? Because the ecosystem is just becoming so complex that having a real understanding of how to navigate this is just becoming increasingly difficult, I think. So finding how to fill those gaps, gaps in education knowledge is going to be increasingly a challenge.
Well, that's good. So when we talk about this kind of absence of behaviour, or what marketers really should be doing now to address some of these things, what's your perspective on that? What kind of things have you been doing?
Good question. So we recently did a study to try and understand what clients thought about some of the big future issues that they faced as media directors.
Right.
So media transformation, if you like, how media clients are going to transform their organisations for the digital age. And digital transformation is a topic we've been talking about for a while, and so it's about how that relates to media people.
Yeah.
So we did this survey, and one of the things we identified was that around 74% of respondents, about 50 clients here, so quite a decent sample, about 75% of them said that they disagreed that advertisers had a well-informed understanding of the technology landscape to inform sort of in-house operations. Right. So quite a strong sort of message that they don't think they have all the knowledge that they need there. So so you're lacking some fundamental education components there. Yeah. And in addition, quite a large share, I think about 60% of respondents said that neither do they have the right talent in the right places, and that's a big issue for transformation, getting the right resources, getting the right talent in places. So we've got a sort of twofold problem there. We've got a slight sort of education problem, understanding what is a very complex market. So I think people can be forgiven that they don't understand this comprehensively, right? But then there's a talent issue as well, then there's a resource issue. So it's about finding the right people is an increasing challenge.
Yeah, and that's within the marketing organisations that they're talking about. So those numbers were clients kind of looking at their own organisations. And so they clearly feel that they're going to need to build new types of capabilities internally now and get new types of people into the business, right, and improve their skills and capabilities to perhaps counter some of these issues that we've been highlighting.
I think that's very much the objective and has been for a while. I think we know that we need to work with agencies. Agencies aren't going away. And in fact, I think most of our clients, we support their agencies on the whole. But it's going to be imperative to get a better handle on a number of these things. And you need people on the inside to help you do that. So it's about building up that level of understanding and that level of skill with these sort of technology platforms, just understanding it, understanding those ecosystems, which you need people who come from those environments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really good to hear. And that's something that you've probably seen David and I talk about a lot in the past. The A.a. has only highlighted yet another area where marketers need to gain more knowledge, more resource, perhaps more control. So it's good to hear that that's kind of been recognised as well in the work that you guys have done. I should just kind of round that off actually just by saying, because as you know, we've just conducted a global media talent survey. So we'll be sharing that with you guys and everybody else in the next week or two. We might bring it to Cannes as well, so we'll have something fun to talk about. Okay, that's it for this week. I think that's been fascinating. Matt, thank you so much for coming to see us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Good. Bye for now. Have a very good weekend.
Bye-bye.